Hello everyone and welcome to another video on the channel. Sunday the 25th of October 2020 will be marked down in the history books of the Giro d'Italia as being the day when the first English-born rider won the magical race. Tao Geoghegan Hart also becomes the second Ineos Grenadiers rider to win for the team, which was of course in 2018 when Chris Froome won for the team that was then known as Team Sky. But how exactly did this 25-year-old from Hackney in London manage to win his first ever Grand Tour? Stage 1, which finished in Palermo, was an unusual time trial to say the least. It consisted of a 1.1 kilometer rise before an 8 kilometer descent and then a flat section to the finish in Palermo. Pre-race favourite and current world time trial champion Filippo Ganna unsurprisingly took the win, but in terms of the battle that we'll end up seeing between Geraint Hindley and Tao Geoghegan Hart, at this point neither of the two young riders were considered the outright leader for their respective teams. Ineos Grenadiers were working for Geraint Thomas and Sunweb were of course working for Wilco Kelderman. Geraint Hindley managed to finish 46th, 1 minute and 15 seconds down on Ganna, and Tao Geoghegan Hart was 2 minutes and 4 seconds down on Filippo Ganna. Stage 2 was an uphill finish, and both the two key riders of this year's Giro d'Italia managed to finish with the favourites behind Diego Ulissi, who took the win, Peter Sagan, who was runner-up, and Miguel Honoré, who was a surprise third-place finisher. On stage 3, to the iconic volcano on Sicily, it was not a particularly good day for British fans or the riders, as Geraint Thomas crashed in the neutralised zone and Simon Yates couldn't quite hold the pace, being set on the front up Mount Etna. But for Ineos, the GC was over in terms of the Giro d'Italia, and it was more about salvaging something, and stage wins seemed to be their way of doing that. So on this chaotic day for Ineos Grenadiers, Tao managed to finish 24th on the stage and was currently 3 minutes and 12 seconds down on the leader, Joao Almeida. Stage 5 was another hilly affair for the riders, and on the final climb, where the weather was very foggy and dark, it was the incredible rider Filippo Ganna putting the climb on fire, distancing his fellow breakaway companions with a brilliant demonstration of power up to 200 kilometers in the break. Pozzovivo in the favourites group tried to separate them out, but none of the favourites actually managed to get a gap. Ganna took the win, and behind Tao Geoghegan Hart managed to stay with the favourites group, and his rival Geraint Hindley finished 6th. And at this point, Geraint Hindley was 1 minute and 27 seconds down, and Tao Geoghegan Hart was 3 minutes and 18 seconds down. Tao Geoghegan Hart had moved up to 19th overall. Stage 9 proved to be the next test for the favourites before the first rest day of the week, and this climb finished up to Roccaraso. On the final climb, there was a breakaway out in front, and Ruben Guerrero managed to beat Tao Geoghegan Hart's teammate Castrovejo, but behind that there was several gaps in the GC, and Tao Geoghegan Hart managed to finish 6th, 19 seconds ahead of Wilco Kelderman, Hindley and Almeida. In fact, Joao Almeida was the big loser on the final climb, losing 37 seconds to the Brit, who was still no threat on GC and sitting comfortably 17th, 2 minutes and 41 seconds down on the Maglia Rosa. Stage 10 was by far the Peter Sagan show, but on the final climb, 12 kilometers from the finish, Almeida, the leader, made a move. Both Geraint Hindley and Tao Geoghegan Hart were in the elite group, which was forged by the stage parcours. Both riders finished in the pink jersey group, which was 23 seconds down after the Slovakian superstar, and the pair moved up in the GC, and Tao Geoghegan Hart was at this point 14th overall and 2 minutes and 45 seconds down on Joao Almeida, who managed to pick up some time bonuses on the finish. Stage 13 didn't have the most interesting profile, and it seemed like there would be no action in the group. However, the favourites forged an elite group, and in the sprint, Diego Ulissi took the win, and the Maglia Rosa, Joao Almeida, had to settle with a second place finish, and Tao Geoghegan Hart was 4th in the sprint, and this meant that Joao Almeida got some extra bonus seconds. Stage 14 was a very important test for the GC, as this was a 34.1 kilometer time trial and a rolling time trial in that case. Tao Geoghegan Hart managed to navigate around the course well, and he finished 2 minutes and 24 seconds down on his teammate and eventual winner Filippo Ganna. There were quite a few changes in the general classification, as Geraint Hindley dropped down to 10th and Tao Geoghegan Hart moved himself up to 11th. Now the surprise pair were only separated by 11 seconds, but Geraint was 3 minutes and 33 seconds down on Joao Almeida, who finished 6th on the stage. No one in their right right mind were considering these two young climbers as potential contenders at this point. We didn't wait long until the next test for the GC, which was on stage 15. The 185km stage was one of the hard mountain tests, finishing up the 14.5km Piancavallo, averaging 7.8%. Up the final climb of Piancavallo, Sunweb demonstrated their immense power as they were attempting to get rid of the Maglia Rosa of Joao Almeida. With 8.8 kilometers to go, the damage done by the Sunweb riders was very visible. When Hindley was the last man for Wilco Kelderman, the Aussie pushed hard and began to distance everyone, including Almeida, apart from Tao Geoghegan Hart, 7 kilometers to go of the stage. Geraint Hindley was pulling the trio as hard as he could, as they could feel the presence of the Maglia Rosa behind them. Coming into the final stretches of the stage, the trio had built up a cushion of about 30 seconds down to Almeida, and as they switched their focus to the stage honours, Tao Geoghegan Hart stomped on the pedals as hard as he could to get his first ever Grand Tour stage of his career. This brilliant move, orchestrated by Sunweb, and the ability of Tao Geoghegan Hart to hang on, meant that both Geraint and Tao moved up 7 places respectively in the GC, and now Tao Geoghegan Hart was 2 minutes and 57 seconds behind the leader of Joao Almeida. The next 2 stages were won by the breakaway, but the next big test was the Big Queen stage on stage 18. After a Giro d'Italia with not much action in the GC and the potential of the Stelvio stage being shortened due to bad weather, it was with a bit of cautious optimism that the fans of the Giro d'Italia tuned in to watch the Queen stage. The 24.7km Stelvio climb was tackled from the Pranto side, and the peloton first approached it with 62.5km to go. It didn't take long for action to happen on the climb once the favourites were on it. With 48km to the finish, Sunweb put on their best Jumbo-Visma impersonation as they put the Maglia Rosa into trouble early on, and Ineos could just sit back and enjoy. Within the matter of a kilometre, the group was down to 4 riders: Rowan Dennis, Tao Geoghegan Hart, Geraint Hindley and Wilco Kelderman. And it was incredible to see the performance put in by Rowan Dennis on the Stelvio that managed to detach the virtual Maglia Rosa wearer Wilco Kelderman after they distanced Joao Almeida, and suddenly the favourites group was thinned down to 2 Australians and 1 Englishman. This was also a very dramatic moment as Geraint Hindley had left behind his outright leader for the team. The gap continued growing as they were venturing up the Stelvio pass, and Rowan Dennis was allowed to take the Cima Coppi at the top of the Stelvio. The trio continued down the descent, and on the flat, Wilco Kelderman, who had been able to limit it to 45-second deficit at the top of the Stelvio, was losing ground when the trio hit the flat. Up the road, the young Australian had been sitting in the wheels of the 2 Ineos riders, playing an excellent team tactic for some, but others believed that it was a betrayal of Wilco Kelderman. Regardless, Hindley took the sprint win in front of Tao Geoghegan Hart, who left shaking his head as he crossed the line second. Wilco Kelderman came in 2 minutes and 16 seconds down on his teammate who won the stage, and it was a bit of a bittersweet day for Kelderman as he managed to claim his first Maglia Rosa, but maybe not with the lead that he was hoping. And of course the GC took a massive shake-up, to say the least. Kelderman had a 12-second lead over Geraint Hindley and Tao Geoghegan Hart with 15 seconds as well. The Maglia Rosa was very much in the sight for the 2 young riders at this stage as well, with 1 more mountain stage to go. Due to a change of the course, the revamped stage 20 now went up the Sestriere 3 times in the final part of the stage. The peloton hit the second ascent of Sestriere and absolutely blew apart. Ineos Grenadiers returned to their favourite role in the peloton by forming a mountain train tactic. First through with Filippo Ganna, then Rowan Dennis. Dennis' effort actually dropped Nibali, Fuglsang and Almeida with still 30 kilometers to go of the stage. Rowan Dennis then seemed to increase his power ever more, and Wilco Kelderman found himself distanced once again, and now only Tao Geoghegan Hart and Hindley were on the Australians' wheel as they were in pursuit of the breakaway riders of the day. Wilco Kelderman did not seem that he had the energy to defend his Maglia Rosa, and for the most part was reliant on other riders to reduce the gap to the trio. Dennis was still working hard for his leader on the final ascent up Sestriere, and the gap was increasing to Kelderman, who was hoping that the 3 Deceuninck Quickstep riders working for Joao Almeida could reduce the gap for the Dutchman. Up front, Geraint Hindley tried to distance the Ineos duo with about 3 kilometers to go, but Dennis proved his worth once again to close it down. A second attack by the young Australian was attempted, but Tao Geoghegan Hart was quick to respond with only 2.5 kilometers left. Dennis came back once again and went straight to the front with 1.6 kilometers to go. Hindley was the first to open up the sprint with about 400 meters to the finish, but Geoghegan Hart accelerated hard with 150 meters to go, and Tao Geoghegan Hart managed to take his second win of this year's Giro d'Italia. And incredibly, they were matched on time after the stage on the GC. However, Geraint Hindley managed to take the Maglia Rosa, as the Australian had made an effort to take the time bonus sprint on the stage as well. Stage 21 was lining up to be an incredible finish to this year's Giro d'Italia after Tao Geoghegan Hart and Geraint Hindley were matched on time, and the uncertainty of who was the better time trial was something that people debated up until the start of the time trial. But for many, Tao Geoghegan Hart was the favourite on the day. During the stage, the riders had very different cadence strategies, as Tao Geoghegan Hart was using a far heavier gear than Geraint Hindley, who opted for spinning more. Tao Geoghegan Hart was the first of the pair to cross the finish line with a time of 18 minutes and 14 seconds, which quickly became apparent was a lot quicker than Geraint Hindley had managed to do. And unfortunately for this Australian, this would be the only day that he would be wearing the Maglia Rosa, and he would be so close to taking the win. He ended up finishing 39 seconds on the man from Hackney. And this, of course, was a truly amazing day for Ineos Grenadiers, as they didn't just win the GCO of this year's Giro d'Italia, they also took their 7th stage win of this year's Giro as well. And seeing the team transform from a stage hunting team after Geraint Thomas crashing on stage 3 to winning 7 stages and out of the blue taking this GC was truly remarkable, and a day that Tao Geoghegan Hart will never forget. What a remarkable story, and what a pleasure to be a witness of. That's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Let us know down in the comments what you thought of this incredible Giro d'Italia finish. And as always, make sure to subscribe to not miss out on any of our videos. And thank you for watching, and see you next time.